So, when was the last time you searched for a restaurant or a plumber or even a business coach on Google? Let's be honest, it was probably one of the first three results that popped up that you went with, right? That's the secret that most entrepreneurs are overlooking. If your business isn't showing up on Google Maps or in local search results, unfortunately, you're invisible to people that are ready to buy right now. Today, what we're going to talk about is going to change that. Welcome to Rocky Mountain Marketing. I'm your host, Katie Brinkley. Join us as we dive deep with the world's leading digital marketing experts every single Tuesday. It's all about giving you the strategies that are working right now, directly from those who are making an impact. With my 20 years of experience, I'm here to help you navigate the world of digital marketing. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills or transform your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started on today's journey to success. Welcome back to this week's episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. And we're going to be talking about local SEO today, specifically how to get your business ranking higher on Google Maps and local search so that when someone in your area is looking for what you do, you are the first name that they see. And joining me today is Josh Thompson. He is the founder of Bright Beam SEO, and Josh helps local businesses rank higher on Google Maps, Google Search, and driving real leads through focused local SEO strategy. His approach is built on transparency, consistent execution, and most importantly, getting you found by the right people who are ready to buy. Josh, thanks so much for joining me on Rocky Mountain Marketing.
Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because so many listeners of Rocky Mountain Marketing are local businesses. I mean, I just spent this morning, my daughter has a soccer tournament in Vail, and I wanted to try and find a restaurant for the 30 of us to go and eat at. And no joke, I was spending my morning on Google Maps looking to see what would pop up first, and that's how I started my search. So this is such a timely episode. So let's start there. Like I want to start with something simple but powerful. Why does Google Maps matter so much for small businesses? Like isn't just showing up in search enough?
I consider myself to be somebody who is more of a reverse engineer specialist rather than anything else. That's to me what SEO is. I'm not here to invent anything, just here to reverse engineer what's happening. So, when you go to Google and you search, whatever that search that you perform is, you can see if Google is pushing the local map, right? The map pack, those three map listings first, or if it's pushing search, right? Like more of those traditional search results that are just kind of the text and the link, right? So that's why local is so important and maps is so important because in most cases those are the searches that Google is pushing maps and local. And so, it's just a matter of what does Google want to show us and then going and figuring out how to be in that, right? To show up in that position.
Yeah, and I think that I love that you talk about reverse engineering because anyone that listens and does the four post strategy for their social, it's all about reverse engineering. Like I said earlier, I'm guilty of choosing the first three businesses that I see on the map. So for business owners that are listening right now, if they're not showing up there, what is the cost of staying invisible?
If I might break this down a little bit, I like to divide businesses generally into two categories based on the customer journey, right? Do you have a longer customer journey or a shorter customer journey? And what that means is certain businesses, it really is like you said, for plumbers, maybe HVAC, roofing, people aren't going to be shopping around a lot. They're just going to look for the top 3 or 4 people that answer the phone and set up an estimate, right? So in those cases, it's imperative that you're trying to get in those top places. Now, the other side of that though is the longer customer journeys where you have somebody like a custom builder or a remodeler or interior design, painting, somewhere where there's a skill set and typically a higher ticket. I think in those cases, being in the top 3 is great as well. But in those types of scenarios, you can also do really well by just even being in the top 5, maybe even in the top 10 if you're marketing with pictures and all of those things is on point. So there's a little more leeway where somebody's going to be shopping around for a while that kind of changes the game. But for the most part, right, if you're not showing up at all, right, if you're not even in the top 10, top 5, then you're just missing out on basically everything.
The key factors that influence SEO rankings on a local level. Let's talk about what those basics are so that people can start ranking. And I know that, so many factors go into how to rank an SEO. So let's just dig into the basics. So if
Yeah.
someone is a local business and they want to start ranking, what are some of the first things they should do?
So this is kind of my easy way to remember. This is what I like. October. OCTBR. Okay. Number 1, optimize. That's your O. So the problem with SEO and especially with Google Business is if you have something wrong that's not optimized, in a lot of cases that can reduce or even eliminate you from showing up. These are things like your business name, your categories are really huge here, right? The description, all of these things that can be optimized. But if you're not optimized properly, then you can actually hurt yourself a lot. So that's number 1 with everything SEO. Same with your website, optimizing the website, having content. But that's the next part. C, content, right? Your content needs to be targeted towards what people are looking for. I don't know how this happened, but a lot of local SEO is seen to be as easier than traditional SEO, but it's not. It's 2 algorithms now, not 1. You got to be targeting search and maps, right? So it's 2 different algorithms. So we need content though that's targeted towards what people are searching for. Once again, the reverse engineering is figuring out what are people searching for. Don't guess. You can figure out if you're a plumber, what do people type in? You can reverse engineer that and go find it and then put content on your Google business profile and on your website to target those searches. That's where the T is. I fit the T in here from October. The T is targeted. Your content, it shouldn't just be content. It needs to be targeted content. Okay. Then the other 2 pieces we have are backlinks and reviews, right? That's the B and the R. Backlinks are links to your site from other sites. You can get into a whole thing about that, but backlinks are what drive authority in Google. And then reviews, especially on Google Maps, your reviews are a huge driver. They're the primary driver. And so just focusing on reviews and continue to get reviews, it gets hard for most people, but those who persevere are the ones who come out on top. And that is just so those are kind of the 4 steps that I like to take, with optimize being more of a one-time thing, and then content, backlinks, reviews, content, backlinks, reviews, and just continuing that cycle, and you're going to start to rise.
So it's not so much about like trying to trick Google; it's about showing Google that you're credible with the reviews and consistent and honestly just the best match for local customers, right?
Right. Exactly. Reverse engineering everything, right?
And
Does Google favor businesses that have more reviews? They do, but only because customers do, right? I think this is where people start to get a little bit like, oh, Google doesn't like me or whatever, whatever, whatever. You can always just reverse engineer. Google's just trying to give people what they want. If you have 10 reviews and somebody else has 100 and somebody else has 1,000, customers are going to be more drawn to the 1,000, right? Like it's just psychology. So
Mhm.
is Google favoring them because they want to, or is Google favoring them because customers already do? And that's where I see this in a lot of ways is Google is not trying to be judgmental necessarily. It's just trying to do what customers want and reciprocate that back to customers.
So, I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I feel like every episode these days has to talk about AI. And this is where
Yeah,
I want to talk about how AI is affecting local SEO because search, it is changing, right? I mean, we talked about the importance of reverse engineering and having the backlinks, but search is changing with so many of these large language models, AI assistants, and even Google itself experimenting with just giving the AI synopsis, those AI driven results. So what does that mean for local businesses?
Yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, I really like looking at everything in the terms of the funnel, right? So the funnel is basically just, you have the top and the bottom. The top is people who are kind of asking questions, thinking about working with somebody, right? That's like, how do I pick a plumber? Maybe, like how much does a plumber cost? Those are kind of your top level. As you get lower in that, you get to the bottom of the funnel, which is like, I need a plumber today, right now. I've always just wanted to focus on bottom of funnel. I think that's always been my focus. Like a lot of SEOs out there, they want to show you, hey, we got you 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 visitors this month. Well, who cares if those people don't want to do any business with you, right? I'd rather get 10 people that want to work with me than 1,000 people that don't even live in my state. So that's how I look at this. And so when it comes to local SEO, you can change all this landscape all you want. If 10 people need a plumber and I'm a plumber, those are the people I want to find. So AI is definitely changing the landscape. And there's, right now, for the most part, AI is just taking searches from a search engine and compiling it. So if you're ranking well on search, you're going to rank well in the AI algorithms. At the end of the day, I don't think AI has that much of a dramatic impact on local search yet. People that need to find a service, they're going to call, they got to find somebody and they got to call, right? That's kind of my take right now. This all can change overnight. I think it's best to be aware of how these things are moving. But yeah, I think for the most part, if you're doing well in search and then doing well in maps, and you can do well in both of those areas, there's a really good chance you're already doing really well in
Yeah.
AI.
What I'm hearing you say is if you're strong in local SEO now, then you're future proofing your business because those AI driven results are still going to lean on the data that Google already trusts.
Yeah. Or let's say they don't. What are they going to do? They're going to go out, they're going to start crawling the web looking for content. They're going to ask themselves, what do I do? How do I know which content is better? Okay, well, backlinks. This has already been done. That's what Google did, was try to figure out the best way to organize content and figure out who's more important and who's not.
Mhm.
So I don't see how the AI could possibly find another avenue. And these AIs, they're not crawling the web. They're not even doing these things that Google does. They just go do a search. Now, what changes is what they search. If people search on the internet plumber Denver, but on AI they say, give me the top 3 plumbers in my area, then it changes the search that's being made. But you can test this yourself. If you're already ranking well on your website, right? Go put best in. Go change your name to best plumber in Denver, and then go search on AI in a couple days, and you'll see that you're more likely to show up in those top spots with those search terms, because AI is just taking a different term and searching it. So I think it's the behavior of the human at the other end that might change, which is where we need to change what we're targeting. But at the end of the day, if you're already outranking everybody and everybody switches to target different keywords, you're already in a better position if you have the authority and all of these backlinks, everything that goes into search, to change and target those customer searches.
Josh, you keep mentioning backlinks. So to me,
Yeah.
that's kind of obviously that's the secret sauce, right? As a local business owner, backlinks are extremely important, whether, in today's maps age, of Google search, or in the future of with AI being the one that's just going to give you that immediate answer. Backlinks are extremely important. So for people who are listening, they're like, okay, backlinks matter. Explain to us why they matter so much and how can we start building them and incorporating more of these into our SEO strategy without it feeling overwhelming.
Well, it's overwhelming to SEOs. So just be prepared that it just is overwhelming. I mean, I I think backlinks are similar to getting somebody to refer you, or or to say, go to their friends and tell them that you do a good job, right? It's the difficulty is in the time and effort it takes to do that. So let me just take a step back. Backlinks, there's so many different variations of backlinks. What people don't understand for the most part is that there is so much garbage out there that is pretty much worthless. So if you're using an SEO tool or something, you might see, oh, my competitor has 100 or 1,000 backlinks. I'm never going to catch up. What you don't see is that so many of those are just worthless, right? They come from places that Google doesn't care about. They don't get traffic. They don't mean anything. So it doesn't often take much to move the needle because a couple good backlinks can be the equivalent of thousands and thousands of this garbage, right? So you don't need to overwhelm yourself. But here's a few ways that a business owner who's actively involved can get some backlinks. Number one, press. If you can do something interesting in your local area that gets press, that is huge. That's the kind of backlinks that are really hard to fake or to buy, right? So that's really good. And then there's Haro or help a reporter out. That's a really good place you can get involved, right? It's basically reporters asking questions. You can go into your email every day and get a question. You can look through, see if there's any questions for your business from reporters, and then send an answer to ones that line up, and you can potentially get backlinks there. Those are really effective ways to get backlinks. And then I'd say number two and number three here is in your local area, if there's businesses that you work with, see if they'll put a backlink on their website. Similarly, if you're involved on a national level with other people in your industry, right? Or kind of these industry publications, right? If you can get backlinks, content, articles that you put there, or make, little relationships with people around the country that are also doing the same thing as you and exchange backlinks, those kind of things, those are great ways to get real backlinks. But just understand that it can be time consuming and it requires creativity, right? The more creative you can be, the more you can do something that gets attention, the more effective that is likely to be. So I don't think backlinks are difficult as much as they are just kind of time consuming and need some degree of creativity to do at a high level.
I mean, and this is where I think that having a podcast, if you're a local business like a realtor or a plumber or something, if you are having other members of the community on your show, and then you say, okay, yeah, here's all the information for your episode, and you put it on your website or whatever, that's a great backlink, right?
100%. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
well, and I mean, that's how Rocky Mountain Marketing started was not for backlinks, but just for local business owners. And that I am sure that it probably helped them because everything is on my website, linking out to their businesses. And hopefully they put the podcast episode on their website, which will link back to mine. And then they share it on social media. And that's all
Right.
linking back to me being a credible source, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a great word, credible. The
Yeah.
more you're an influence, the more those things are going to just happen kind of naturally, right? And I'm sure if you're a podcast, you're doing well there and you reach out to people who already, just like a customer is more likely to come to you if they've heard of you a bunch of times. If you've heard of this podcast person multiple times, you're listening, hey, I'd love to try to get a backlink from you. I mean, that's a million times easier, right?
Yeah.
So anything interesting is going to grease those wheels. So,
Yeah. So, for someone that's let's say the listener right now is driving on their way into work, and they're like, "Man, this was really impactful." Obviously, I need to pay a little bit more attention to my SEO, but I don't have time today to go and start building out a whole bunch of backlinks or to launch a podcast or anything. What are three quick wins that they could implement to improve their local SEO today?
number one, just make sure that your website, especially if you only have like one location, right? Point your website to your city. I see this miss a lot. People want to go to let's say your home page is the most important page on your website. You run a plumbing business once again in Denver. That's your business. Okay. but your homepage says John's Plumbing. Well, that's okay, but people are searching for plumber in Denver. So why not put that at the top of your website page in the title, right? Go target specific searches you know people are making, right? And if you don't know what those are, you can always go to your Google Business Profile and go to the Performance tab at the bottom. It shows you searches that you're showing up for. That's a great way to find little pieces that customers are looking for, right? But
Mhm.
that's kind of number one. Number two, make sure you have pages for every service that you offer, right? So if I keep going back to the plumber, if you do water heaters, make sure you have another page that says like water heater services in Denver. If you do, you know, gas lines, yeah, put these on their own separate pages where they can discuss your service and really, get that content correctly. Then number three, I would just say, especially on your Google business profile, go through and look at what your competitors are doing and just get an idea of if there's anything you're missing on your profile. And just go through and fill everything out. That can be really helpful. There's a service and a product section on your Google business profile as well. These are really good places to just go list all your services. I've found that especially in these less competitive searches, if you list it there on your services page in your Google business profile, you're much more likely to show up. So if you just go list all your services there, there's a high degree of likelihood that, maybe it's only 1, 2, 5, 10 people a month find you from those, but that adds up, right?
Mhm.
So I think just doing a little bit of customer research and then looking at your own assets a couple hours a month even, that's a really good habit to get into just so you can see what is everybody else doing? Where am I at? How am I being perceived by customers who are coming to my business, right? That
Yeah.
that customer perspective.
Those are really easy fixes that someone can make today or, by the end of the week. Give yourself a little bit of grace, I guess, but you could implement those easily by the end of the week. So, what are some things that you see businesses doing that they should not do? Like, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see local businesses doing that is actually just going to be hurting their SEO?
Okay, so number one, I think this is my golden rule that people don't talk about enough. Don't change or tinker at all with your business name on Google Business. You don't understand how much how serious Google takes the name that you have. So if you have LLC and you go take it off and you go add it back in, this is what triggers suspensions more than anything else. So just leave your name alone. If you have to change your business name, there are steps that you need to go through to do it. I don't need to get into all that right now, but too often people just kind of take a letter out, add a letter here, add a word, take it out, and then all of a sudden they're suspended. Now you got to go through this entire process of getting unsuspended, and it's the worst. It's the worst thing to deal with. So same with your address, but your name specifically or more specifically, don't tinker with your name. I think I've emphasized that enough here. So that's number one. Number two is your categories on your business profile. You need to make sure you have all of the potential categories listed that you offer, and especially that your primary category matches up with what you want to rank for. Okay, so if you do roofing and plumbing, whichever one of those you choose is the one you're going to rank for. The other one is going to be so hard to rank for. This isn't always the case, but anywhere where these services are different enough, Google sees them as different, you're unlikely to compete with other businesses who have those primary categories when it's your secondary category. So hopefully that makes sense. So just make sure your primary category is correct, but then also that you have the right secondary categories that you do offer, because you can get traffic from those and you're missing out if you don't have those. So that's kind of number two. And then number three, I would just say get reviews. Keep getting reviews. Don't stop. I can't tell you how many people stop. There was literally a study done that said businesses with over 200 reviews get twice as much revenue on average. So if you want to double your revenue, if you want to statistically put yourself in a position to double your business revenue, get 200 reviews. That will do it. It's going to be difficult for you to not succeed if you get up to that 200 reviews and keep going.
I have to say that whenever I get a number of Google reviews, like definitely see like cold email traffic, like, search pop up more. So I agree that the reviews that you need to be asking for them. And if anything, you should be asking for them from your current clients, reach out to past clients, ask for those reviews. And Google's made it easy now to ask for reviews. Before it used to be a little bit trickier, but now they give you an actual link if you want to ask for reviews. So there's no excuse not to ask for those reviews.
And let me just say real quick, just so people know, I know I've talked about reviews and review numbers and all that. Google looks at your current review average. So don't think because somebody has 1,000 reviews and you don't, that you can't catch up quick. If you outpace them on a monthly level consistently, Google will take note and you can start to show up and beat competitors who have more reviews. So there is a weighting by time. And if your competitors are getting 10 a month and you start getting 12 a month on average, right? Everything here is always relative. There's never a answer because it's all relative to your competition. So, but I love the 90-day push. That's what I like to call it. Give yourself
Yeah.
90 days, figure out what your competitors are doing, and even try to double what they do for 90 days. It's, once again, people with the tenacity and the ability to just keep going forward, right? Doing the hard things.
Yeah.
It gets easier once you have, a bunch of customers and now you can automate reviews. Everything gets easier once you get over these little humps.
Yep.
So
I couldn't agree more. Well, Josh, this has been such a great conversation. I hope, simplified it for everyone listening on how important it is to pay attention to the SEO, and especially as a local business, how you can get found on the first three options through Google Maps. So if people are listening and they want to, reach out to you because local SEO has not been on their radar, and today they are like, okay, I need to change that. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you and learn more about Bright Beam SEO?
yeah, you can visit brightbeamseo.com or Josh at brightbeamseo.com, BRIGHTBEAM SEO. If you have questions, you want to just chat about your business, that's completely fine with me. So anything I can do to help answer people's questions or point them in the right direction, feel free to visit the website as well or send me an email.
Well, and everything will be linked in the show notes here. So reach out to Josh, connect with him. And if local SEO has not been on your radar, today is the day to change that. Don't wait until your competitors are eating, your lunch. Go get proactive about your local visibility today. And of course, if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you hit subscribe so that you never miss another upcoming episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, be sure to leave today's episode a review. It helps other entrepreneurs discover the show. Until then, keep your marketing smart, strategic, and authentic. Josh, thank you so much for joining me on Rocky Mountain Marketing.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. I hope you're leaving with valuable insights and the inspiration to lead your market. If you've enjoyed our time together and found today's podcast episode useful, I have a small favor to ask of you. Please hit that subscribe button to stay updated with the latest episodes. And if you know someone who could benefit from these episodes, maybe a fellow business leader or an aspiring entrepreneur, go ahead and share this episode with them. Let's spread the knowledge and grow together. Also, I'd love to hear from you and continue the conversation beyond the podcast. Visit me at katiebrinkley.com to connect, to find more resources, or just to share your journey. And be sure to pick up your copy of my new book, The Social Shift, at katiebrinkley.com/book. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Katie Brinkley, and I can't wait to dive into more strategies and stories with you on the next episode of Rocky Mountain Marketing. Let's keep on taking your marketing to new heights.